Update. My wife stole our daughter's college money to fund her shopping addiction and wants me to take the blame. I want to start this by thanking everyone who replied to me in the original post. You all showed me a tough love, and I appreciate that. I even appreciate those who are calling me a doormat, because like I said in the previous post, it woke me up. I won't be staying with Andrea. She's lied and manipulated me and Cassie for far too long for me to stay with her. The fact that she stole from me, Cassie and Cassie's grandparents, makes this as close to unforgivable as it gets. The most wrong party here is Cassie. She has an amazing future ahead of her, and I refuse to let her future go to waste because my wife made such selfish choices. Also, I'd like to take the time to answer some common questions, some of which I answered in the original post, but I'll post again here so everyone can see it. 1. Over half the money in the account came from Cassie's grandparents, aka Andrea's parents, Cassie's bio dad's parents, and my parents, whom she also calls grandparents. This money came in the beginning, which is why I knew how much was supposed to be there. 2. I never handled the account. Although I claim Cassie as my daughter, she's only my stepdaughter officially. As such, her mother handles all financial matters related to her. I simply gave her money to put in the account, and she showed me probably doctored statements. My belief is that she pocketed the cash whenever I gave her money. 3. I did notice all the stuff she was buying, but she claimed that they were either on sale or because she got a work bonus. She makes a very good living, and I thought was responsible with money, so I said alright. I did ask her why she needed so many Christian Louboutin shoes. She shrugged it off, and although people can't wrap their heads around it, it's very easy to spend $170,000. 4. A large chunk of the money went to buy a Mercedes, which I thought was a lease. She had a 7-year-old Lexus that, according to her, her friends were laughing at. Keeping up appearances for her wealthy friends is very important to her. 5. Cassie and Andrea did not get along for a variety of reasons. Allegedly, Cassie takes a lot after her deceased father, and Andrea can't relate to her at all, or maybe doesn't try hard enough. Cassie much prefers me to talk to. We have parent/child boundaries, but Cassie considers me one of her best friends. Her words, not mine. 6. I realized taking the fall was her manipulating me. Plus, it would have opened me to a crap ton of consequences that I don't need to deal with. Plus, honesty is always the best policy. 7. I wasn't thinking properly in my last post and was afraid to be alone and single. I guess I have some issues being alone that I need to address. Plus, I really do love Andrea. We connect in a very deep way, but I'm still divorcing her. Oddly enough, a comment that senior homes have chlamydia outbreaks had me laughing and made me realize that I could date again at this age. Plus, you guys gave me some very nice compliments, so thank you for those. After my final updates on the original post, I talked to Andrea deep into the night. She went back and forth with me on admitting to Cassie what she did. She said that she, or even both of us, could get loans and take care of the money then. I said she had a problem and she needed to make amends, which was a talking point from here. When I threatened her with divorce, she agreed to tell her, so long as I don't divorce her. I guess she's afraid of losing everything. That afternoon, we sat Cassie down and told her the facts. She thought we were just kidding at first, but when she realized we weren't kidding, she got extremely upset. I'll spare you the details, but she and Andrea got into an extremely loud and vicious shouting match. Cassie called her some truly awful names, and Andrea, while she didn't curse back at her, tried to defend herself, but started getting angry at the names she was being called. They were so loud the neighbors called the police. I had to awkwardly explain the situation to them while hoping they didn't think I was some kind of wife beater. Cassie told Andrea that she never wanted to speak to her again, and that she never wanted a dime of her money and stormed off. I asked Andrea at this point to stay with her sister indefinitely while we give Cassie and me some space. She didn't want to go. She fought me to stay, but I told her me and Cassie needed time apart from her. So she packed her stuff and went to her sister's house. As for Cassie, she went to her room and locked the door. She let me in after I told her that her mother had left. She cried in my arms and expressed that her future was now ruined. I told her it wasn't, that I would cover her college from my retirement and that I would make it right. She doesn't exactly know what a 401k is yet, but she told me that she doesn't want me to work until I'm 90 like the people at Walmart just because of her. I just told her she's worth it and that you do stupid things for the people you love. She said that she would start looking for scholarships and maybe other schools where she could get a full ride, since she has excellent grades and extracurriculars. I then admitted Andrea wanted me to take the fall for her, and that I had considered it, but I came to my senses. She got upset with me and told me that would have been the stupidest thing I could have done. She said she wouldn't have believed I did it anyway, and it only would have made her more upset at her mother. She told me that she doesn't blame me, and that she's not mad at me for the money being gone, but she's mad that I'd want to cover for her mother. I apologized for that. We talked and cuddled for a while longer before calling it a night. The next morning, I get a call from Andrea's parents asking if the story was true. Cassie had told them the story, and they were calling to confirm. I had voice recordings and bank statement to prove it. They were livid, but begged me to not leave Andrea for this, and to try and help her through her addiction. I told them I wasn't sure about that yet, and hung up. A while later, my parents called and asked me about it, which I confirmed. They were probably more mad than Cassie was. All things considered, they're even threatening to press charges. I told them to calm down and that I would handle it. Cassie's doing okay. She's still a little shell-shocked, but she seems to be taking it as well as one could hope for. I made her pancakes this morning, and that seemed to brighten her mood a bit. I asked her if she wants to do therapy. She said she'll think about it. I will be doing therapy for myself. Andrea has been calling to talk, but I'm just letting it ring, so she's leaving voicemail. She's offering anything to make it right. Money, intimacy, favors, you name it. But it's not going to work. I feel horrible for Cassie, and especially so close to Christmas. I think I'm going to get her Billie Eilish ticket since that's her god. It won't make up for it at all, but it could go a long way to help her feeling better. So that's it for now. I guess I'll update if anything further happens, but I think this is pretty much it. Thanks all, you've been a tremendous help. I forgot to add, I watched my credit like a hawk, so there was nothing suspicious there. But it's going to be locked. I'll be going to my accountant next week to have Andrea removed from everything meaningful. Life insurance, will, bank accounts, etc. And I'll be adding Cassie instead. I've started changing passwords and the like so Andrea doesn't have access. I'm stringing Andrea along with non-divorce until my accounts are secure. Also, from what I can tell, Cassie's credit is okay, but I'll be doing a deep scan and locking that as well. Now for the comments. Hold on. Do not cash in your retirement. You have other options to get probably most of the money back. Sell the Mercedes. Sell those Christian Louboutin shoes and all of this other designer stuff she has. Even Cassie has been suggesting other ways. She can probably get scholarship money. I think you're doing the right thing. Sell these possessions and do everything you can to not cash out your retirement. You have other options. She needs to sell everything to make partial things right. Even if she ends up driving around a Honda car or takes public transportation. Sorry, forgot to put it in the post. She doesn't want to sell her stuff and is just offering to get a loan. I'm proud of you, Opie, for being truthful to your daughter and recognizing how manipulative your wife has been. However, I'm disappointed to see you're still letting your wife walk all over you when it comes to taking accountability for her actions. According to your comments, you're willing to sacrifice your retirement plans because your wife doesn't want to sell the things she bought with the money that wasn't hers. Why does she get a choice here? She acknowledges screwing up, but doesn't want to actually make things right by her daughter? You need to call her and let her know that if she doesn't actually make a plan to pay back the money she owes, you and your parents will sue her. You need to make better choices for yourself and for your daughter. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't view it as her walking all over me. She's lost her marriage, her daughter, her family's furious with her, and her friends will likely drop her when they hear what she's done and realize she's not as wealthy as she appears to be. To me, that seems like real consequences. I'm a big fan of The Twilight Zone, and this seems like one of those endings where the person gets what they want, but doesn't realize what they had to give up to get it. She can have her possessions. It just cost her everything to get it. To quote Jake the Snake Roberts, she is a victim of her own greed, wallowing in the muck of her own avarice. Plus, she'll likely end up getting sued by my parents anyway. And if Cassie decides she wants her money, then I'll support her fully in getting it. My retirement will be fine. Let's just say my portfolio is very diverse and healthy. Plus, I have an inheritance. I'm not bragging, just stating facts. Plus, there is a chance Cassie gets a scholarship or assistance. Last story. My dad secretly got married on my anniversary and I'm pretty sure I made him cry. My dad, 52 male, got married on my 31 female, 4th year anniversary. That's not the part that I'm upset about. It's mildly irritating given there are 363 days of the year that aren't his children's wedding anniversaries. But the day itself isn't all that special to me. I do think it's a little weird to share an anniversary with my dad, but I have no emotional attachment to the day itself. I'm very close to my dad. Other than my sister, he's my best friend, or so I thought. He's been divorced from my mother for about 25 years and has sworn he would never get married again because everything about the divorce in our childhood was traumatic for all of us. My dad's been dating Martha for about 5 years, and I don't think anyone in our family actually likes her. We tolerate her for my dad's sake, but she is selfish, spoiled, and self-centered. I could give you dozens of times when she has been a pretty terrible person, pushing children off floating devices at the lake because she wanted to use it, promising young children to take them out to a special event or trip without consulting the parents, and then last minute deciding she didn't want to, breaking those kids' hearts, manipulating my dad with her mental health and alcohol recovery to change his vacation plans of visiting me. I'm the only child who lives in a different state, to visit her family on the opposite side of the country, sending money to her daughter Denise when Martha didn't have a job. But once Martha got a job and my dad put his foot down and told her she can send her own money to Denise, she stopped sending any because she couldn't possibly send her own money. These are just a few. I could go on for hours about the things she's done. Among many instances of pure selfishness, no one can have a conversation with her for more than 5 minutes without her turning the conversation to herself and her daughter. Martha has 2 kids, but she rarely talks about her son. Denise is definitely the apple of her eye, and she is a carbon copy of Martha, with the exact same personality and entitlement. The only people who matter to Martha are Martha and Denise. One example of this was our trip to visit this summer. On our last day of our trip home, we wanted to have a dinner with my family, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandma, the works. But the only people who I was really adamant to be there were my dad, my siblings, and my grandmother. Trying to coordinate was difficult, but we managed to nail down a time right after my uncle got off work at 5 p.m. and before my sister went in for the night shift at 7 p.m. Martha threw a fit because Denise wouldn't be off work until 6 and wouldn't be back in town until 6:30, so she wouldn't be able to make it with much time to join. I made it clear to my dad, in no uncertain terms, that I didn't care if Denise made it, and that Martha didn't have to come either if she had an issue with me wanting to work around my sister's schedule more than anything else. The way I feel about their relationship is how I imagine my dad felt about every guy I dated in high school in my early 20s. She's not good enough for my dad, but he's an adult and can make his own decisions. I love my dad more than I dislike Martha, so I tolerate her in as small of doses as I possibly can. For whatever reason, she makes my dad happy, and that's the part that really matters. Now on to the main deal. They got married, despite literal decades of my dad swearing he never would again. The part that I'm upset about is that my siblings and I were given no heads up until Martha posted it on Facebook. We didn't get a phone call or even a message that they had taken the step, and I was hurt. My sister was angry, but I'm just hurt. My dad is such an important part of my life that when I got married, I asked him to sign my marriage license as my witness. He and my husband's mother were the only people there. My sister did the same thing a few months later when she got married. No one else but her husband's dad and my dad. I wanted my dad to be a part of one of the most important moments of my life, but I feel like I wasn't important enough to be a part of his. But my dad being happy is really all that mattered, so I called him and congratulated him on getting married. I told him I was a little hurt I had to find out on Facebook of all places, but that I was happy he found someone that made him happy. He told us no one knew, except for Denise who signed the marriage license and my grandmother. This is where I made him cry, when I learned that Martha's daughter of all people not only knew about it before it was posted on Facebook, but also that she was involved. I lost it. I'd like to blame pregnancy hormones, but I can't because I'm sure I would have lost it even if I wasn't pregnant. I told him that having to have a witness isn't an excuse he can use, since they live in a state that doesn't require witnesses to a marriage license at all, and that this is exactly the reason I don't like Martha, because only her and her daughter matter, and to hell with anyone else's feelings. I told him that if the roles had been reversed, if I had gotten married, and he had found out via Facebook, he would have been hurt and felt excluded as well. We were video chatting and he was silent and I could see he was crying. I took a breath. I apologized and told him this wasn't what I called for. that I really just wanted to tell him I was happy for him and that I'm sorry went off, but the damage was done. He wouldn't look at the phone. He just said it's okay, and then I said I had to go. I told him I loved him and got off the phone. I feel like a real a-hole. My husband says I'm an a-hole and have no reason to be upset. But that doesn't change the fact that I am, and I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to do about it. Now for the comments. To me, it sounds like your dad just always caves to avoid her wrath. A lot of people do that with narcissists, because it's easier to just go along with it than object. I doubt he was deliberately excluding you, but that's kind of the point. He isn't thinking about anything or anyone else other than keeping her from being mad at him. That's what I feel he does too. And he takes the blame for her a lot. Claims that he's the reason for certain actions when we very much know it was her. You shouldn't feel like an a-hole for sharing your feelings. Your father should know how this exclusion hurt you and your sister. Why is Denise more important than you and sister? How can he not see it's hurtful, mean, and shows where you stand in your relationship with him? Do not let him off the hook about how this behavior hurts. Martha is going to make a point to exclude you both every chance she gets, and it's obvious he doesn't give a damn. As a parent, I couldn't imagine letting my partner cut my children out of my life events in life. I'm so sorry, but you're going to have a sit down with him to tell him what you're willing to put up with. People's actions toward you mean everything, especially when it's a parent, and his actions are showing you both where you stand in his life. Good luck, and remember your feelings are valid. Thank you. I'm the same as you. I can't imagine excluding my kids from such an important moment. And this is such a stark contrast to how he has been the rest of our lives. Up until the last few years, he included us in everything, big or small. He fought so hard to stay in our lives, despite our mother trying to push him out every way she could, short of actual kidnapping. It's a huge change in him, and it hurts. I don't know if it's Martha, or just because we're getting older and have our own families, but it sucks. Your point was valid. If you got married and he learned about it on Facebook, he would be upset. You're his daughter, and it seems he is prioritizing Martha and giving in to her constantly. I'm sure that's hard to witness him getting taken advantage of over and over. I think you need to talk to him about your feelings. It is hard to watch for sure. I wish I had said something before now. I'm sure I'll talk to him someday about it, but I think I'm just going to take a step back for a little bit and go low contact. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my friend's expensive honeymoon after she chose a destination I can't afford? I, 26 female, have been best friends with Lisa, 28 female, since we were kids. We've always been close, and I've been so excited for her wedding. A few months ago, Lisa asked me to be her maid of honor, and I gladly accepted. We started planning everything together, and it's been a lot of fun. Recently, Lisa mentioned that she and her fiancé are struggling to afford their dream honeymoon to Bora Bora. They have been saving, but unexpected expenses have come up. Knowing how much this trip means to them, I wanted to help. I offered to contribute a significant amount of money towards their honeymoon as a wedding gift because I am earning very well. However, when Lisa and her fiancé finalized their plans, they chose the most luxurious resort in Bora Bora with all the bells and whistles. The cost was astronomical, far beyond what I had initially anticipated. When Lisa sent me the breakdown of the costs and my share, I was floored. It was more than double what I had budgeted to give them. I approached Lisa and explained that I couldn't afford to contribute that much money. I offered to give the original amount I had planned, which was still quite generous, and Lisa got upset and said I was ruining her dream honeymoon. She argued that as her best friend and maid of honor, I should be willing to make sacrifices for her big day. This has caused a rift between us. Lisa's barely speaking to me, and she's even considering asking someone else to be her maid of honor. Our mutual friends are divided. Some think I'm being reasonable, while others believe I should find a way to come up with the money to make Lisa's dream come true. I feel awful because I don't want to let my friend down, but I also can't justify spending more than I can afford. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my friend's expensive honeymoon after she chose a destination I can't afford? Edit. I was thinking of giving around $5,000 to $7,000 as a gift. Again, I endeavored to contribute, not pay for the whole thing. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Let the trash take itself out. Not the a-hole. Also, don't pay anything, not even a dime. She's not your friend. She's shown you that. The fact that you're even considering giving in shows that you're just too nice. Nice people will be used and sucked dry by manipulative users like your friend. She's even considering asking someone else to be her maid of honor. Let her. Just say, I'm disappointed but okay. Then watch what happens when other person hears the price tag for the honor. Your friend is childish and immature. The important thing about a honeymoon is being with your new spouse and spending time with each other. My in-laws were very generous, and my husband and I went on a cruise, but I had a friend who rented a cabin in the woods near a stream. I wouldn't even give her the opportunity. I'd make that decision for her and back out myself. This isn't a friend, it's a leech. Exactly. She just put a price tag on a friendship. She's the a-hole. The only person who should be finding a way to make her dream come true is the doofus marrying her. Who in their right mind expects their friend/maid of honor to fund a lavish, extravagant honeymoon? Their inability to budget or delay the honeymoon until they can afford it isn't your problem. I'd take the money I'd budgeted to give them and go on vacation myself to decompress from dealing with the crazy. She took your kindness and ran with it. It would be a drastically different situation to work with you and be reasonable. If you make her dream come true this time, you can also expect to be approached when they have kids and can't afford them either. And then for private school, you'd be teaching her that your boundaries are to be stomped on and that entitlement is rewarded. Preferably to Bora Bora. Next story. Am I the a-hole for leaving the vacation after my brother expected us to be free babysitters? My brother and sister-in-law invited my wife and I to go on vacation this week with them and their 3 children, 3, 7, and 10. When I say invited, I mean that they asked us to go to the cabin our parents own. They weren't paying for anything for us, which is relevant. Also relevant is that my wife takes their 3-year-old for the day, 3 to 5 days out of the week. It's supposed to be 3, but they often drop him off more. So anyway, we all head up to the cabin together, and the first night, they ask if we can stay in so they can have a date night, which we were fine with. But then the next day, 10-year-old wanted to do something that the younger 2 couldn't participate in, and they expected us to just take the other 2. We were upstairs getting ready for the day, and sister-in-law came to our room and said, "We're going to go do activity," and didn't tell us she left the younger 2 downstairs. So we were extremely annoyed. Then that afternoon, my wife and I decided to go bar hopping, and sister-in-law got upset and said, "I thought this was a family vacation," which felt rich considering she'd left her 2 kids for 4 hours that morning. So my wife and I went anyway, and when we got back we were pretty drunk, and brother said something snarky about us being hung over the next day. We weren't. The next day, we go to the lake and my wife and I go get drinks. And sister-in-law pulled my wife aside and said she didn't think we should be drinking while watching the kids. At that point, I was really done, and it turned into an argument, where my brother said they brought us on a family vacation, and I pointed out we were all there for free. And he said that he thought we were going to help out. So, my wife and I left to go get our own place to stay. And now sister-in-law is texting pictures to us, saying the kids are hurt that we left, and that her and my brother are so confused, etc., acting like we are being unreasonable. And from my perspective, this is a vacation for us as well, not an extension of what my wife does for them all the time, for free. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. WTF. They seriously are delusional if they think that you and your wife aren't allowed to drink or do anything but watch their kids, while they have fun. You were right to leave when it became obvious that it wasn't a vacation for you, but rather a babysitting trip. After that ridiculousness, I wouldn't even be watching their kids 3 times a week anymore, since it's obvious they don't respect you or your time. But that's just me being petty. Agreed, and I love the emotional guilt trip of texting pictures of their kids. That's some serious narcissistic BS. I'd send some back with thumbs up from the bar, sipping a cocktail, but I'm petty. They are taking advantage of you. I think you need to wean them off the expectation that you and your wife are their unpaid nannies. Wife needs to be unavailable to sit. When your sister-in-law drops by with the kids, don't answer. Or grab your purse and be just heading out. Or better yet, no. You don't owe them an answer or an explanation of why you don't want to be constantly roped into parenting their kids. Or just start taking shots anytime you're around them. This works because you're not fit to babysit. And it numbs the entitled a-holery of your brother and sister-in-law. I fully agree the wife needs to stop babysitting. 3 to 5 days a week unpaid is disrespectful. I'm sure there are way more things she'd rather be doing. OP, back your wife in this. Heck, tell them it's your deal, because they're obviously being entitled. I've been telling my wife we need to cut back the babysitting, but she genuinely enjoys it. I do need to make sure she develops boundaries about how many times a week, and start and end times though. Next story. Am I the a-hole for canceling my vacation because my sister is sending her kids? We've been planning a family vacation for months. This would be my first vacation in 15 years, and it's kind of a big deal. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and this year is just the first year I've enjoyed getting out. My sister has had her struggles in her adult life, and she has 3 kids that spend half their time with their grandparents/my parents. They're fun kids, but they aren't well-mannered. They don't listen unless it involves yelling or being asked multiple times. Telling them to not do something often results in them doing it when nobody's looking. Today we get together for Father's Day, and I find my sister isn't going, but she's still sending her kids. This frustrated me quite a bit, but I definitely wasn't going to speak my mind around the kids. I decided to give it a few hours and reset to observe what I could expect. 3 kids spanning 4 to 6 just bullying adults until they get what they want. My vacation quickly began to look like I was just leaving the state to babysit. I'm not a parent, I'm not good with kids, but I don't hate kids. I don't want to spend my week trying to get a handle on 3 kids at a campground, despite my parents would still do most of the work. I told my parents I wasn't going on vacation, and that I didn't sign up to watch my sister's kids. I know my mom feels terrible, and I feel like I've put her in a difficult spot. My sister has a job and boyfriend and less free time than I'm sure she'd like, but she's no single mom with no support system. I don't think it's right to just expect someone to take your kids on vacation while you sit at home. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. No, it's your vacation, and if you won't have a good time, then don't go. It seems a valid reason to say no. Looks like a lot of people are going to be away. Sounds like the perfect opportunity to have a quiet staycation. Nope, they are her circus, her clowns. There is nothing wrong with taking a vacation for yourself. Sounds like sister is trying to get a vacation for herself away from the kids by taking advantage. What a prick. The kids that she only had 50% of the time anyway. Ignore them, not a-hole, but please take a vacation of some kind, one you will enjoy. Oh, I've got a few much-needed life upgrades on the way instead, and few parks around me to still make it out on the water. Appreciate the kind words. Solo travel isn't for everyone, but I have grown to love it over the past couple of years. I'm married and have 2 excellent teens, but I'm the one in charge of everything when we take trips, and it isn't very relaxing. I would never take my nephews/nieces on a trip at 4 to 6 years old, let alone my only opportunity to get away. Mini update. Thanks all. I was feeling pretty crappy and selfish with the plans of leaving tomorrow morning. After calming down and reading your responses, I think I made a right and understandable choice. I'm going to stick to it. To those wanting to make sure I get a good vacation, I promise to make it my most enjoyable and active staycation to date. I still have a state park pass, and kayaks aren't bad. I'll certainly make the most of it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for being upset that my wife didn't give me what I wanted for Father's Day to get back at me? I very well could be wrong and maybe I deserved it, but I can't be sure. I will include both sides of the argument. She does contribute to the household despite not working, so no, I don't want to hear comments about finances. She has plenty of money saved from when she was working prior to giving birth. So for Mother's Day, I had to work. My wife was at home with all 4 of our children all day. Our kids are 13, 10, 9, and 6 months. I had been working for 2 weeks straight at that point, and hadn't gotten the opportunity to grab her anything for Mother's Day. So after I got out of work, I went shopping. I got home at 8 p.m. Therefore, her Mother's Day sucked. All she wanted for Mother's Day was alone time, where she wasn't needed/wanted at all day. She just wanted to relax without being bothered basically. And I totally get it, but I had to work. I didn't even get out of work until 6:30 p.m. She did absolutely appreciate the gift I had gotten, something she had said she wanted in passing for a few months, but she said that she was bothered because I could have gotten that gift any other day and that her one request had been neglected. She wasn't super upset, but unfortunately she asked for a back rub as a kind of you can make it up to by doing X type of situation. So I started rubbing her back and fell asleep damn near immediately because I was just exhausted from work and all else. So I kind of botched her day. Fast forward to Father's Day yesterday. I had to work, but only until noon. She asked me what I wanted for dinner that night, but I didn't have a preference. She asked what I wanted to do for Father's Day and suggested some things like bringing the kids fishing or going swimming. And honestly, I didn't want to. All I wanted to do was relax and work on my truck uninterrupted. As soon as I said this, she said, "No, you can hang out with the kids for Father's Day." I asked her why. It's Father's Day after all. Shouldn't I be able to get what I want? I admittedly wasn't making the connection between Mother's Day and Father's Day. She said, "Why should you get a stress-free, kid-free, relaxing day of no interruptions when you couldn't give me even a sliver of that on Mother's Day when I asked for it? Again, you can hang out with the kids for Father's Day." She then turned and walked away, leaving the kids with me. Am I wrong for being upset about it? My wife said I have zero ground to stand on because for the past several Mother's Day and birthdays of hers, I've worked, and she hasn't been able to do anything that she has wanted to do. Her most recent employer gives all moms Mother's Day off and all dads Father's Day off, as well as all birthdays. So she's always had a day off. But I never have those days off. So it's difficult to do anything for her those days. Why didn't you give her a makeup day on your next day off? Or why didn't he hire a babysitter for some or all of Mother's Day rather than go shopping at the end of the day? Man, that's a good idea. That would have meant OP could focus on his stressful job but still get exactly what his wife wanted. If you don't have a regular babysitter, maybe he could have reached out to a family member? For the past several Mother's Day and birthdays of hers, I've worked, and she hasn't been able to do anything that she has wanted to do. Holy crap, dude. Get it together. Just because you can't give her a day off on Mother's Day / her birthday doesn't mean you can't give her a day off. Pick a different day. Find someone to watch the kids, get her a hotel room, and let her have 24 to 49 hours away from the house. The day of Mother's Day is arbitrary. It's the idea of Mother's Day that is important. If you miss the day, you can't throw up your hands and say, "Oh well, pick a different day and give the poor woman a break." And if there is no possible other day, then clearly the current system is badly broken, and she has a lot more cause to be upset. Yep, she's wanted one day to herself for years. And he works all these hours, but gives her no spending money? She has to eat away at whatever savings she had pre-kids? If I was her, I'd leave. And I'd leave him with the kids. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not giving my concert tickets that I paid for to my ex-wife? I, male 39, was married to Michelle, female 36, for 5 years. We have 3 kids, 14-year-old boy, 12-year-old girl, and 9-year-old girl. Michelle decided that she was no longer attracted to me and told me to move out when our youngest was 3. Divorce was very hard on both me and the kids, especially the 2 oldest ones. Michelle then hooked up with some guy, got pregnant, and tried to date the guy. Even moved in with the kids with the guy for 2 years. She left the guy when her daughter was due. Anyways, I am right now co-parenting with her and try to be as civil as I can for my kids' sake. My son's birthday is coming up. Michelle texted me that his favorite band is in town, and if I can buy tickets. This is the band my son and I love the most. It's our thing. When I was going through divorce, he learned about this band from me, and we spent hours talking about it and listening to their music. I splurged and bought really awesome tickets. I texted Michelle and told her not to mention anything to him, so he will be surprised on his birthday. I even made a reservation on his favorite restaurant. Michelle got furious. She said she meant buying tickets for her and our son. I told her that this is our thing, and she doesn't even know the band's songs. She called me a self-absorbed narcissist jackass. She said it was her idea to begin with, and the least I could do was taking care of the kids, including her daughter, so she can have fun. Am I the a-hole here? P.S. Michelle has no intention of reimbursing me since she has no job. Now for the top comments. Sounds like not the a-hole to me. You bought the tickets for you and your son. It's your special thing. And you even planned a surprise for his birthday. Michelle can't just assume she gets in on that. Plus, she called you names instead of appreciating what you did for your kid. Co-parenting is tough, but boundaries are important, especially with exes. Huge not the a-hole. She's trying to be the hero and take your son to what will probably be a key memory for him, without wanting to fund it. She had the affair, not you, and she is trying to use it. Enjoy the concert with your son and enjoy every damned minute. You need to tell your son right away, because she will definitely try to ruin it by planning something the same day or spoiling the surprise. Why would you give her money for her ticket to anything? Lol. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to live with a newborn? In May, my 23 male brother Louis, 16 male, shocked us all by telling us that his girlfriend, 16 female, was pregnant. Our parents were far from supportive. After many arguments, my mother made him leave and our father refused to take him in. Since last August, he has lived with me and my housemate, Alex, 23 male. He doesn't pay rent, but will pay me for groceries. In January, the baby was born. My nephew lives primarily with his mother, who Louis sees every day after school, and on the weekends he comes to my flat. This was not something Louis ever asked me about. He just turned up with a baby, and it has been a nightmare. He cries all throughout the night, keeping me and Alex up. He smells rancid and spits. He causes more washing up than we've ever had to do before, and there are no benefits to having him in the house. After a month, I decided that this has to stop. Louis will have to just spend a few nights a week at his girlfriend's house to spend time with his son, but he can't keep bringing him to mine. He was unhappy, but reluctantly agreed. Despite this weekend he turned up with a baby. Again. He attempted to smuggle him unnoticed, but his crying alerted us to his presence. Louis told me that his girlfriend had refused to agree with my idea, and had forced him to take the baby home with him. When he came back from the baby's mother's on Monday, Alex and I told him in no uncertain terms that if he brought the baby here again, he would no longer be welcome. We both work shifts, so sometimes we don't get back until 4 or 5 in the morning, and we need to sleep. At first, Louis refused to respect this and argued, but he has since reluctantly agreed and told his girlfriend that their son is unwelcome here. His girlfriend wasn't happy with us and is taking it out on him. I know that they are young, exhausted, and stressed all the time, so I feel bad for making Louis's life even harder. But his burden quickly became our burden too, and that was not something I nor my housemate agreed to. I feel like if we had had a chance to come to an agreement before the baby actually arrived, maybe this would have been easier. But Louis never spoke to me about it. Am I the a-hole? Edited to Ed. We never thought that him living here would be a long-term solution. His girlfriend's father tried to set them up with the flats before the due date, but that fell through. We tried speaking with our mother about charging him rent, but she refused to let him move back in. Now for the top comments. No a-holes here. Your brother is young and I respect him for stepping up, but he does need to understand his child shouldn't be affecting your life. The only a-holes here are your parents who believe it's okay to kick out their minor child. I respect him too. We know of people who were made single parents at 18 because of similar situations. Yeah, I didn't expect my mother to stick to that. I always thought she'd let him back in. You really need to tell your parents that kicking out their minor child with zero support can actually be illegal in some states as child mistreatment, provided you are in the States. I hope you call CPS on your horrible parents. To add, I think you are in the UK. I think it's still illegal there. Not the a-hole. The actual a-holes in this situation are your parents. He's their child and their responsibility. And since they didn't teach him to know better than to knock up his girlfriend at 16, the baby's their responsibility too. It would be optimal if you and Alex could talk to him now and work out a solution to this, so Louis can still bring your nephew home sometimes, but not required. I will note that someone needs to help those kids with how to do childcare. If the baby smells rancid and if he's crying that much, there may be a medical issue. But if there is, it may or may not be solvable in a way that isn't just he'll grow out of it eventually. Babies should not smell rancid. Babies should smell delightful unless they just pooped, and then they should be cleaned and smell great again. They do know babies have to be washed, right? Yeah, sex education seems to be awful here. My mother knows 2 girls who had kids at 17, and now my brother has a son at 16. It's likely to be that this house is not baby-friendly. At his girlfriends, they have loads of stuff to care for him. Here, we have nothing, so it's likely not the best environment. I have no idea what they do or don't know, to be honest. I have brought up the smell before, but he gets defensive. Not stay home. Louis and his girlfriend should have considered that termination or adoption would be more practical solutions, not to mention using contraception correctly, or getting the morning after pill if there was an issue. Opie's being decent enough by having Louis live with him. The baby is not his problem. It is especially not his housemate's problem. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for favoring my daughter over my half-sister? Hi. So, quick context. My dad remarried when I, 40s female, was in my 20s. Dad had a daughter, Kaylee, with his wife, who also had 2 older kids. Around that time, I was setting up my family and had my older daughter, Charlotte, a couple months before Kaylee was born. I was not very involved in his family. We would talk a couple times a year, exchange Christmas cards, but I didn't really get close to Kaylee. A couple years ago, my dad passed away, and when Kaylee was 16, her mom also got sick and passed. My stepmother's other 2 kids were still in college/young adults when this happened, so I was approached to take care of Kaylee, as I was the most settled in life, had a house, job, and 2 kids. Truthfully, it wasn't something I really wanted to do, but she would have otherwise ended up in the system. My husband and I took her in and have always treated her the same as our daughters. She got an allowance, extracurriculars, and tutoring when necessary. The only issue was that we had 3 bedrooms. Charlotte was uncomfortable sharing with a stranger and chose to bunk with her younger sister, so Kaylee got a room to herself. My girls didn't complain and have always been welcoming to Kaylee. It was always planned that when Kaylee turned 18/graduated high school, she would go to her other siblings and perhaps attend college there. However, she asked to stay an extra year with us due to wanting to move in with her boyfriend here and needing to save up. We agreed, but decided to fix up our basement into an apartment for Charlotte so she and her sister would finally have their own space. When Kaylee found out about the apartment, she was upset that it had not been offered to her and her boyfriend. We discussed the room situation, and I thought it had been settled. However, she recently moved out suddenly, leaving only a note stating that we clearly didn't think of her as being part of the family. I feel pretty horrible, and I'm wondering if I was an a-hole. Not the a-hole. You took in a teenager you didn't want nor had an obligation to. She got her own room in your house, fed, clothed, schooled, and provided for. When she, on her own, decided she wanted to stay longer, you agreed. Making up a room/place in the basement is logical if your girls are growing and need some space from each other, and you suddenly have a prolonged house guest who had her own room. Your half-sister seems a little entitled, frankly. She's definitely entitled, but I hope Obi grants her some kind thoughts. Though Obi was more than good enough to her. Definitely not the a-hole and certainly did more than most would have. She was a teenager who lost her family quite suddenly and was shoved into another house where she didn't fit in. I can't imagine how that feels. Not the a-hole. You are under no obligation to take in a boyfriend. The apartment is not showing favorites. Kaylee needs to take on full responsibility if she wants to play house with her boyfriend. If she was your eldest daughter, I would say the same. No boyfriends in my house. Go ahead and thumbs down Reddit. My house, my rules. No boyfriends in my house. I would like to know when it became a requirement to house someone's boyfriend. Opie took in her half-sister who she didn't have a relationship with. Your children who would have had their own rooms now have to share. Your family made sacrifices for this girl that you truly didn't have to. Her sense of entitlement is a bit much. She is an adult. I know that I'm going to get downvoted for this, but Opie's allowed to choose her daughters over her half-sister. Although I really don't think that is what is happening in this situation. Kaylee needs the reminder that Opie's her sister, and at one point her guardian. Guardian and mother are not the same thing. Opie provided Kaylee with a home and made her feel like one of the family. However, feeling like one of the family does not mean feeling that your sister should treat you the same as their actual children. Those are different types of love. Not stay home. Not stay home. Charlotte has shared a room for 2+ years with her younger sister to give Kaylee her own space. Kaylee was always planned to move out at/around 18, so I don't really see how Charlotte getting the downstairs apartment isn't fair. You were nice enough to take a stranger into your home, clothe, house, and feed them until a predetermined time. I'd call you saints instead of being ungrateful. Next story. Am I the a-hole for being angry with my husband and mother-in-law for choosing the name for our daughter? I, 28 female, and my husband, 28 male, are expecting our first child together. Our daughter's due date is approaching, and I'm feeling very nervous and anxious. My husband and I decided on naming our daughter Anne after my grandmother. I spent most of my childhood and teen years with my grandparents. I was extremely close with my grandmother and was devastated when she passed away in 2016 from lung cancer. We live close to my grandfather and visit him on a daily basis, and it means so much to my grandfather that we are naming our daughter Anne. My mother-in-law and I are cordial when we get together. My husband is her only child, and she feels like since I stepped into his life, their relationship changed. He is still very close with her, but he doesn't visit often because of the pregnancy. Mother-in-law invited us over for a small dinner party, and I thought it was going to be a pleasant evening. When we sat down for dinner, my mother-in-law turns to me and says, "Your husband and I spoke this past week, and he told me that you were going to be changing her name to be after me." I could feel my anxiety level rising and said, "No, we are still planning on keeping her name to be Anne, right?" I gave my husband a look and he doesn't say anything. My mother-in-law makes a face and says, "Well, it seems like husband is not on board with her name." I finished eating and told husband that we were leaving. We get into the car and husband tries to apologize. I told him that I was angry with him for not discussing with me and even more upset with mother-in-law. Mother-in-law sent me a few text messages regarding my behavior that evening and hopes I will change my mind. Am I the a-hole for being angry with my husband and mother-in-law for choosing the name for our daughter? Now for the top comments. Not stay home. I don't get why you're acting like they made a definitive choice. Your mother-in-law can say whatever stupid crap she wants. That doesn't mean you have to listen. I'm really disappointed by how your husband is behaving. This exactly. The baby hasn't arrived and the name isn't on the birth certificate. Therefore, Opie and husband can sit down and discuss things. Just because mother-in-law says whatever doesn't mean that's the way it has to be. Not stay home. It is completely unacceptable for your husband and a third party to decide anything about your child without consulting you. If you let this slide in any way, I bet your mother-in-law will think she can run your life and decide how your child is raised too. Put your foot down as hard as you can. Quit reading this and do it now. You need to send a clear message to mother-in-law that you and husband are a couple and will make your own decisions and she cannot overrule you. You don't want this to be the start of many announcements of mother-in-law's changes in the future. Not stay home. Tell the nurses in the delivery room not to let your husband sign the birth certificate. Also, this may be the start of her bulldozing your husband. I suggest r/just no mother-in-law. Not stay home. You already agreed. Don't sign the birth certificate without the right name on it, and make your wishes known to the nurses ahead of time. Definitely going to be doing that. I'm worried that husband will try to tell them a different name while I'm in labor. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for getting offended at my husband's suggestion that I only take 2 weeks of maternity leave? I, 25 female, am currently 25 weeks pregnant with my husband, 34 male, and I's first child. We have been together for 5 years, married for almost 2. Baby is growing on track. We've already painted the nursery and my mother-in-law is excitedly planning the baby shower. I have a full-time office job while he has been working from home since the first lockdown. We were talking about our parental leaves and we agreed that we wouldn't take it simultaneously. We were good until I said, "Do you want to do 2 weeks first, then I do mine, then you do 6 weeks after?" I just stood silently staring at him for 5 minutes. I told him I think he's being ignorant and selfish. He said, "What? I don't know how long you need to recover." I don't even know why we're still talking about this. He works for an international company where they get 3 months paid paternity leave. Meanwhile, I work for a small business which only offers 6 to 8 weeks of unpaid maternity leave. He has been anticipating his paternity leave since I got pregnant because he sees it as an opportunity to seriously start looking for another job. He has been with the company for 9 years and has been feeling burnt out. Lately, his frustrations have been compounded by his new manager being difficult. I've been very supportive of his goal of finding a job where he can be fulfilled and appreciated, as I can sense that he's not happy at his job anymore. He also said that his current company will be considering him for a better position once he gets back from his paternity leave, so that gets him kind of excited. We have a 6-figure income combined. I paid a mortgage while he takes care of the other bills. We have money in the bank, stocks, cars paid off. I don't think my maternity leave being unpaid is an issue because my savings could cover the 2 months that I wouldn't get a paycheck. I didn't talk to him after his remark. He went to play video games on his computer while I folded his clothes. I slept on the couch and still have not talked to him at breakfast. He tried talking to me as I was about to leave for work, but I just noped out of the house. I am upset that he doesn't think that I deserve to get some downtime after giving birth to recover and spend time with our kid. I feel like he thinks growing an entire human being inside your body and then having to push that baby out is not a big deal. Maybe because I never complain about anything. I do 90% of the chores around the house, even carrying laundry from our bedroom at the top floor down to the basement to get them washed, then back up the stairs to get them folded and put away. I feel like my in-laws are more concerned about my well-being than he is. My father-in-law even bought us a litter robot, so I won't have to clean after our cats. My family lives a few continents away, so I don't have a huge support system here. Not stay home. Your husband is woefully mistaken about what is possible during a paternity leave. First off, where I live, what you are getting doesn't even qualify for maternity leave. It's what's considered medically necessary leave to recover from childbirth. Is your husband even aware that he will be providing full-time care while he's off? Because it seems like he thinks this is a free vacation and not a responsibility. Absolutely. Well said. Is he prepared for the commitment a 2-week-old baby needs? Yes. They sleep all day, but come sunset? Wow. When do we tell him about the witching hour? There is no way a doctor will medically clear her for 6 weeks anyway, no matter how committed to baby care he is. I don't understand why he isn't taking his leave concurrently with hers. It is way easier to tag team overnights the first few weeks. We did this so that each of us got an unbroken 4+ hour stretch of sleep each. Not stay home. So you are the one who is going to push the baby through your V, but you only get 2 weeks to rest? And then is going to take 3 months of paternity leave and take that time to look for another job. Who is going to look after the baby and take care of the house while you work? It looks for a job and potentially goes on interviews. And why on earth are you folding his freaking clothes while he plays video games? You're going to be a single mother really quick. Not stay home. Does your husband think paternity leave is a vacation time for him? Who is going to be watching/taking care of your child during this time? He'll be playing video games and looking for jobs online while she does everything.